Hello, friends. You will notice I am doubling down on the poetry because it went so well in the last video where I read Healing from my second book. And since you got me to cry, I thought, hey, let's be ambitious and read another one. So I also noticed that there was a specific poem on my Instagram connected to this channel. Um, that does not have a read aloud with it. I only have one read aloud on there right now. But, at least the Instagram. But I can surely read more, I thought to myself. So, the one on there is called Sun. And this one again deals with a theme that is not necessarily the most happy, but it's important because it's about emotions. Yay! So, uh, and as I had discussed earlier in my last video, a lot of the literary devices I use, symbols I use, are a lot to do with um, the mystical and the Middle Ages. Um, and I also use um, kind of naturalism, which is basically talking about the forest, talking about the ocean, talking about the flowers, and their natural occurrence within life and the beauty of that. And along with that is kind of more astronomy. I don't know why I did that in air quotes, but astronomy in its entirety is also attached to those inspirations. And this particular poem is definitely one of those as well, henceforth it being entitled Sun. So, and I'll use astronomy to uh, talk about ideas that are hard to describe, kind of like the cosmic perspective, right? In our universe, we have yet to scratch the surface on what we know, and I feel my, personal feeling, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like emotions and the way that the mind internalizes things, emotionally speaking, is we're always constantly learning. I mean, that could be said about anything, but anyway. So that is why I used astronomy to kind of, talk about something that's hard to articulate. I will use something that's hard to understand. Yeah. So this is called Sun. Ever wandering in winter where the sun is hidden from view, stars shine suddenly fade, so is everything that you knew. The first daylight is seen, it sparkles through, dusting everything in sight, bringing about brighter shades. Dark souls emerge, blessing the time we forgave. A ball of heat we call the sun gives a glimmer of hope that we can always hold, the power to be saved. From our past and our future, there is only the present feature. Yay! Okay, and so again, just like the last video, I'm going to go beginning, middle, end, and try to only address a couple of things because I want to be polite to all my viewers. A lot of air quotes in this video. So, anywho, in the beginning, we have so much going on. So, let me just break it down for you. This poem was specifically written about losing someone close to you. They didn't die, they just are no longer in your life for whatever reason. And that when your world feels like it changes, your whole universe shifts because that person is no longer in your reality, um, it can be earth shattering, literally. So I've got all the puns going on. And so that is why I say, right from the get go, stars shine, suddenly fade. So is everything that you knew. And that is to say, stars are born and then they die, and when they die, they go out, as some people may or may not know. And so that is commenting on the fact that there was once a person, who was very close to you, and they held that much literal, they held that much light in your life. And when that light goes out, there is only darkness. Um, so again, very happy, and um, very difficult subject matter we're dealing with here, and that is okay. Um, not all my poems will be, tough subjects, tough talks, as I like to call them. I just made that up. So we're going to keep going through it, right? Because at least we're getting to have to talk about my personal experiences and not anybody else's. So you guys can kind of live vicariously through me. Yay! Um, so we go into a part that may seem a little contradictory, right? If we're going so negative, or not negative, but if we're going dark, right? Really intense, heavy feelings. Uh, this next section seems kind of odd because I say the first daylight is seen, it sparkles through, dusting everything in sight, bringing about brighter shades. Well, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Why would I stick that in there? Um, it is as simple as to say that even if the sun were to disappear and the first daylight is seen, you know, regardless, life goes on, right? The world's going to keep spinning, whether I go or somebody else goes. So, um, in that loss, you can find other things that will bring you joy. Um, and that is where I talk about bringing about brighter shades, because I don't like the idea of saying that a lens, or because rose-colored glasses, like you see what you want to see. Uh, I don't really like using that in terms of talking about this idea, because I like the idea of using shades more, like you seeing things in shades. Because rose-colored glasses infers that you're seeing what you want to see and therefore seeing something that isn't there. But shades infers that you're seeing something that is there, but there are shades, right? You are seeing a shade of somebody. You are seeing a version that you want to see, that much is true. But that doesn't say that shade doesn't exist. There are multiple shades. It is accounting for the fact that we are not just, this binary opposition as humans. We are either full of surface or full of depth. Humans have both surface and depth to them. We are dynamic human beings. We are complicated. Um, that's essentially what I'm saying. Um, and so then my my response to this idea of, there are brighter shades, you weren't an idiot for trusting this person, you had a good heart. There are shades and ways of looking at things. So I respond to that with dark souls emerge, blessing the time that we forgave. That is kind of, again, dark, literally. I say dark souls. Um, this kind of goes into reflection, right? When you first, like a friend, you're no longer best friends, or your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend, right? And that initial time where you're not with them, you start to think about the time you had together, right? And um, you start to think, in a way that you almost are blessing that time, right? Like this time was so, you kind of romanticize it. So when I say blessing it, I'm saying you are romanticizing it. Um, and there can be a darkness that comes out of your soul when you do not take the time to heal it. When you romanticize unhealthy experiences, that is only going to set you on a path to seek out other unhealthy experiences. I hope that part makes sense. Um, so when I say dark souls emerge, blessing the time that we forgave. So, you get into a fight, you forgive easily, and you go back and you look at these memories. Oh, they were so great. But, if you go back to when they initially happened, these memories, maybe they weren't so great. And you're just, you know, missing the person's dog, missing their family, missing their routine, because sometimes that's what it goes down to is they were so much a part of your routine that when you take that person out of the equation, you're left with not a whole lot, and you have to try to rebuild yourself up. So there's that as well. Um, so yeah, so there's that aspect, right? Memories can sometimes be your worst or greatest enemy. Asset thing, yeah. So, and then of course the ending, right? I go back, I come full circle because I always do in the end. Maybe not to my readers, but I try. Um, And so I go, a ball of heat we call the sun gives a glimmer of hope that we can always hold the power to be saved. And so that the sun, if I had to really think about this, the sun can almost be symbolic for love or a loving person in your life. Um, because while the sun can go away, right? While love can go away, if you heal your heart and you don't let darkness overtake you and you let yourself get bitter and sad and whatever it is, um, you can always hold on to that idea that love is always around you. The love that you give stays. So um, I wrap it up then to say from our past and our future, there is only the present future. And that is just basically to wrap up the whole idea that no matter what good or bad things happen in your life, then yeah, they might color your future and they might taint your past, but that should not ever destroy your ability to live in the moment and be in the present and not let yourself be cut off from potentially good things. And that is not as to say other people, like a new relationship or whatever, but you keeping yourself open, you might find that you could find a new passion, hobby. I don't know. um, but in the midst of your healing and your grief, try to be open. And so that was Sun, and that was the poem that I had written to kind of help me process the many layers of grief. I know I talked about in my last video about the many layers of healing for injury, but I mean, you know, in the words of, you know, Naruto, there is nothing harder to heal than a wound to the heart. So Gaara's uncle said that. Need I say more? So I will read the poem again because that's what I did for the last video, just so now you guys have this context. Now I'm going to read it again. Ever wandering in winter, where the sun is hidden from view, stars shine, suddenly fade, so is everything that you knew. The first daylight is seen, it sparkles through, dusting everything in sight, bringing about brighter shades. Dark souls emerge, blessing the time we forgave. A ball of heat we call the sun gives a glimmer of hope that we can always hold the power to be saved. From our past and our future, there is only the present future.